All right, Florida is working to expand stand your ground laws in that state. It is a smart move designed to give people more protection when faced with a grave threat. Here is why stand your ground needs to be clarified in Florida. Have you heard of the case of Marissa Alexander, a black Floridian whose husband had just threatened her, saying, quote, if I can't have you, no one will. Fearing she was in danger, she fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Her husband backed off. But instead of relief, police arrested her for aggravated assault. She was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. That was later overturned, and while awaiting her new trial, she agreed to a plea deal. The empowered woman who stood up for herself had to serve 3 years in prison. That is wrong. That is un-American. The new Florida Stand Your Ground bill would give people like Marissa Alexander a chance to claim self-defense, which it was. Under the new proposal, she would clearly have been well within her rights. All Americans need the protection of the law to feel empowered to stand up to criminals without the threat of being prosecuted or even sued by their victimizer. Well, stand your ground laws for us are a hot topic here at NRATV because we believe it's your right to be able to protect your home and your family no matter where you live. Problem is, the law regarding this issue varies from state to state. Here to explain some of the variations is Alex Kincaid. She is an attorney that specializes in all of this. Alex, as always, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you. Thank you.
So stand your ground, I believe, is about the most American principle there is. You're basically saying to criminals, I don't have to retreat, and if you come after me, and if it's safe for me to do so, I'm going to stop the threat, and I'm well within my rights to do so. Is that right?
Yes, it depends on where you live, how the laws are interpreted. And as you mentioned, they're different all across the United States, and there is so much confusion about what a stand your ground law really is versus a castle doctrine. I read something on the internet recently where someone was writing about stand your ground laws, and he was talking as an authority, not a lawyer, very liberal, and he was telling anyone who read this article that stand your ground meant that someone could shoot an unarmed person for no reason. That's what it means. So the misinformation that's out there about these laws just fuels the fire of the anti-gunners. And what stand your ground really means is if you, the gun owner, are faced with life or death, you don't have to make a split-second decision about whether or not you can turn and safely get away. Stand your ground protects you and your right to defend yourself with deadly force without the fear of going to prison. It doesn't mean you can shoot anybody you want. It means that when you feel that your life or the life of another person is in danger, you get to defend yourself. And in my state of Idaho, we have, as an example, a stand your ground law that is based on case law. A judge in 1904, 1905, very early 1900s, said you don't have to turn and run. But because we don't have a strong statute that says you don't have to turn and run, and if you don't run, you instead stand your ground and defend your life with deadly force, that the jury doesn't get to hear that. That's what a real stand your ground law will say. The jury doesn't even get to hear about the opportunity to turn and run. We don't have that kind of a statute here, and so what it allows is the prosecution to bring in evidence that you could have turned and run to prove that using deadly force was unreasonable under the circumstances because you could have gotten away. So it's really not a true stand your ground law, and I use that as one example to try to show you that the best way to say you don't have to turn and run is to have a strong statute in your state, and the statute has to say the jury doesn't even get to hear any evidence about your ability to turn and run because you don't have to. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And so to think that the prosecution is going to try to prove in some cases that you had an ability to turn and run, does the prosecution have to prove then that the potential victimizer may have shot you in the back? But they're not going to. They're going to ignore that. I mean, you know, you may see an exit to the back, but it doesn't mean that the guy pointing a gun at you isn't going to fire you and shoot you in the back.
Exactly. And that's, you know, these laws are so important. And again, I go back to the misinformation that's out there that's just fueling that liberal fire to say, oh, we don't want stand your ground laws. That just allows the gun owners to shoot whoever, whenever. Nonsense. These laws are so important to protect you in your Second Amendment ability to defend your life and defend the people that you love.
You know, one of the most important aspects of stand your ground laws, and in Iowa they are doing this right as they debate this, is taking the civil aspect away from it as well and making it law that a potential victimizer, a thug, a gun-toting or just violent thug cannot then sue you for sticking up and trying to save your own life.
Absolutely. And we have a law to that degree here in Idaho. Washington is a great example of a state that has an even better law, because it says if you are prosecuted for murder and you lawfully use deadly force, the state has to reimburse your legal fees as well. And that's a really rare law, but I think it's something that we should try to advocate for in every state.
Absolutely. That's the kind of protection that gun owners need out there, the kind of things we're pushing for here on NRATV. Alice Kincaid, great work as always breaking this stuff down for us. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
All right, you got it. We will keep pushing for stand your ground laws, most importantly to be enacted and also clarified state to state, because too many gun owners are put in harm's way with this patchwork of stand your ground laws that don't really mean anything for gun owners. We need them to be strong. We need to be spelled out in a common sense manner. I'm Grant Stinchfield. Don't forget Chuck Holton will join me the top of the next hour right here on NRATV.
NRATV with Grant Stinchfield.